Welcome back, everybody, to another Warpath video. Today, I'm going to try to sum up the final video on the update 2.0. I don't want to get too exaggerative about all of the changes because they are modifying most of the changes. So any test or anything that have been shown is subject to change drastically over the next couple weeks. They have had many different mails sent out of the different changes that they're going to do, buffing things up, debuffing some things, changing parameters and such. So you guys, I'm sure, are in tune with most of these messages, seeing them in game and also in forum. I do want to conclude this with some of my thoughts about the update and my thoughts, as well as some of the thoughts of other players. I know a lot of people have seen some of my videos and a little bit upset. Most of you guys are happy. Some of you guys are upset. It's just a very intense time that we have nowadays with what's going on inside of the game. And so all I'm trying to do is create content to help the community in ways that could help them. Not necessarily every single thing that you see is my personal opinion. However, I will give some of my opinions and I will finalize this up so that I don't keep on with this just the update 2.0 videos, so that we can move on and learn some new tactics and learn the new game and however they're designing it and move forward from here, guys. So if you guys are interested to check out some of my thoughts and some of my different points, maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree, stay tuned, guys. All right, guys, before we get started with all of the different topics that I want to talk about, because I've compiled some different things that I've heard other players talk about, this has been in chats, this has been talked about on forums, also my personal opinion about them things. I want to make some disclosure here, is that a lot of people think that I'm just trying to cry. I'm not trying to cry. I'm actually trying to be a voice for a community that was upset about a bunch of things, and I could completely understand when you play a game that for 2 years was in beta, a game that for 6 months has been out on Android, in a game that has certain parameters that have been a baseline or normal for so long, and you invest a lot of time and money. You're talking about sometimes a year, sometimes 6+ months, like literally grinding away to get towards a certain point, and then to have everything stripped and changed or whatever is a frustrating moment. So people are voicing their frustrations. I hear that and I respect that. It might not be my personal opinion. I might be like, oh, that's not that bad, I'll deal with it. That might be me personally. However, another guy who spent $10,000 or $5,000, or another guy who was free to play that grinded out the long way, only to have nothing in the end of it and frustrated and wants to delete the game, he should be able to have a voice. And so I'm making content on that. I just want to bring that as a full disclosure. That's why I'm doing this video on update 2.0. So like it or love it, that's why I'm doing it. You can call me a snowflake, you can call me whatever you want to call me, but yeah, that's how it is. And I'm going to do it. So anyway, first up, let's talk about the base durability changes. So they did change a lot when it comes to the base durability. These numbers, of course, were going to go up because they had to increase the durability because of the amount of units that would be attacking, because they increased fourfold the unit numbers or whatever. But they did make the base that much more durable, stronger, and harder to kill. I 100% agree with that. I did videos way back then about, bases being too easy to kill. They brought up in the forum, in the Q&A with the developers, that it was too easy for a single unit to go around and kill bases. And yeah, a single unit shouldn't just be able to go around and kill bases, but I think we need to bring a little context to that. And that is, in any game, if somebody has, whether they've spent $100,000 or $10,000 or nothing at all in free to play, if you are in a position where you can spend money and you get a unit that is fully maxed out right off the bat a month into the game because you've spent a lot of money, that unit should be able to do that much more damage against a base that's 25, 26, 27. So what we're talking about here is that if a player is, let's say, 20 million power and he attacks a 8 million power player, he should be able to take him down rather easy. If the troops that are inside this, 8 million power player are, 6.5 star, 7-star units barely, and you have a 7.2 star fully maxed out, almost a million power grade. If you have that, I say power grade, 12 power grade, but the numbers have changed on the units, but it used to be about 900k power to almost a million. Now it's much more than that. It'd be like 4 million because of the new unit counts or whatever. But anyway, if you have that, you should be able to kill that base rather easy. You should not be able to kill the base rather than if it's somebody who's higher up. So if a player is 15 million power and another player is 15 million power, you shouldn't be able to take your one unit and kill his base that easy. But that's not really my experience in this game. I can tell you guys that me personally, attacking other bases base to base that are the same power as me has been difficult. If you don't have a completely maxed out artillery set or maxed out artillery officers, if you're a month into the game, you're going to have a lot of trouble with that. You're going to need help with people that are surrounding the base and trying to swarm it. That was like the normal. So I don't really see how that had changed in any way. And if somebody was worried about the fact that you could take out, and I'm going to bring this, for instance, a medium, right? Because a lot of people are medium. If I come here and I attack the base to a certain duration, and then I pull away from the base and I heal, and then I come back and I attack it, and so it just takes me 15 minutes to fully demolish this base just because of the healing function, then why not take out the self-healing aspect of the game if you're worried about that? Like adding units and adding, how weak the tanks are isn't going to necessarily fix the problem with the self-healing. I mean, if we're looking at the actual aspect of the game being realistic, no tank self-heals itself. So why not take out the self-healing aspect if you're worried about a player that can take one tank and manipulate the system and, take it away from the unit, heal, and then come back and never lose any reserves at all? Well, that's mainly due to the healing aspect. That has nothing to do with the durability of the tank or how much firepower it has. That's just simply the self-healing aspect. I bring that up because that's my personal opinion, guys, okay? People might not like that, but nevertheless, I mean, you could necessarily take away the self-healing and just whatever it is, and you have to go retrain your troops to bring back up the health of it. Now, with power players that have these top level troops or whatever against some of these different bases, I strongly think that in relation to power, it should be not equal. In other words, a free-to-play should just not get a pass to have an overly buffed base just because somebody who's maxed out the unit at the top has to be debuffed to make them equal. No, they've worked towards that gain. Somebody has worked towards the very top and somebody hasn't worked and they're at the very middle. Now, whether that means spending money or not, I'm sorry, that probably is a factor. But nevertheless, there should be a differentiation or an easy factor put into that. Now, whenever we talk about the durability of these bases and losing units, the other thing that most people were upset about was the fact that on the reserves here, and they've changed this, they've made them fourfold. As you can see, I can get 7480 now. They barely went up on it. So like if the average person in a new server, like where I'm at, was between like 1,000 and 1,400 reserves. That was kind of the normal. You start maxing out, you get into like the 2,000 and stuff. But anyway, that was kind of the normal. And then after the update, we barely slightly got like a 20% increase or something. I'm not sure the exact percentage, but it wasn't much. And people were losing their reserves tremendously fast. And people were like, well, you should lose all your troops. You shouldn't be able to just fight forever and never lose all your reserves. I agree that you should not be able to sit there and be on the battlefield continuously with a single meta tank and never lose hardly any reserves and be able to fight days and days and weeks without feeling any repercussion, I think there should be a balance with that. I completely agree with that concept. But in practicality, most players that I play with and other players that I play with, there's two different styles. There's the guys that are new to the game that don't know, and then there's the guys that know kind of how to manipulate the game in its aspect. And there's a percentage between those two, meaning, if you have an alliance, like 60% of your alliance is probably not doing too well on reserves, and they're really, really low. However, other players are probably doing great because of the fighting style that they do. And I'm going to do some math for you real quick. Okay, guys? So let's break this out real quick so you guys can see it. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so before, a normal unit that was maxed out was 24, right? A person would normally have about 2 marches on the field, sometimes more, but 1 to 2 marches, so that was 48. Now, when that unit died, which it did die plenty of times, I mean, I'm speaking from experience how much reserves I could lose personally. But those 48 units right there, they could die rather easily. Well, if I am running around with, let's say, 1,200 reserves, all right, then 1,200 reserves divided by this 48 units that I just did is only 25 encounters, guys. That's it. I mean, so when we're talking about like overbuffed or overpowered, or like that it was like completely messed up, that wasn't my necessarily like my experience or whatever, guys. Like 25 encounters is not that many in a war. And if you have 25 encounters and you're completely out of 1,200 reserves, then that's more than practical. 25 encounters isn't that much. So I just bring that up. It's not like it was like crazily messed up or something like that. So I don't know how we got this concept that it was just that bad. Like, yes, it could be balanced more. They could have adjusted some things. I agree. I agree with that. But it's not that it was just like crazily messed up or something like that. It's just not that way or whatever. Anyway, the next thing I want to bring up, guys, is about the bunkers. Now, I know that a lot of people were saying that, like, hey, bunkers should be, a rally, or they should be, multiple players or whatever. That's fine. I could see that aspect, and that, these Raven troops right here are supposed to be solo. That's fine. I have no problem with that, that aspect or whatever. My problem was that the troops that were coming out of here were so small, 6.5-star power grade 7, that, a maxed out unit couldn't handle them. That's not proportional. So either one, make the bunker spit out higher tier troops that would be more of a matchup to where you got to deal with it, but make it more practical, and or get better reserves for it. I mean, like the rewards for these bunkers aren't extravagantly like big. I mean, they're not. And most players are killing bunkers because they want to be able to level up. So it's a good free-to-play aspect. So if it's a free-to-play, I think that we should differentiate between PvE and PvP. See, the whole point of them updating the total number of units was for the PvP, player versus player aspect inside of the battlefield, not the PvE, which is the computer like campaigns and other things that should be for growing or whatever. And you guys know as well as I do that there is a bunch of lack of events when it comes to growing faster. If they had more events to where you could grow faster, or the free-to-play would be better off, then people could get higher level troops or whatever, but they can't. And so they seek after these bunkers and stuff like that, And the last thing I want to bring up, guys, because, I don't want to go too long on this, and I'm sure most of you probably already clicked off of the video or whatever, but the other thing is dealing with the reserves. And so, like, when you have troops and they die and you go to train them, there was a little symbol right here you could click on, and off to the side, like right around here. And that one will take you to these reserve cards that you can get. I don't think I have any more, but they were reserve cards right here. That you could buy later on. It says that right now it's not available, but it is buy. So if we're talking about having a free-to-play player where his base can survive, or he can survive on the field or something like that, then having a whale that can pretty much kill all of his reserves and just buy reserve tickets, what is that going to do? Like, how is that going to help anybody? It makes no sense at all. I mean, for somebody to make money, that makes sense. But, like, how does that make sense long term for increasing anything to make it more balanced? All that does is make people die faster on the field. Okay, because you said that they should die faster on the field, but then the whale just spends money and keeps playing on the field because he can buy reserve tickets. Not really sure about that. So anyway, guys, leave a comment down below, thumbs up, thumbs down, and we'll just move past this update. All right. Thanks, guys.